And then he dies 2 hours into the game, and nobody ever mentions him ever again. Is everybody back? Are we done complaining about the least dumb video game series ever to come out? How come Dice Jail is only ever big enough to hold one die, I wonder?
Here's the thing about Dice Jail. We have a storage solution for that. It's called a shrink ray. But now we can hold mini dice in Dice Jail.
Right, but now they're small enough to slip through the bars. Like, they're just going to escape.
Wait. There you go. You just gotta find the. You gotta find the right like bar, like dice to bar ratio.
They're so tiny. Look at how cute they are.
Oh my god. Alright, do we have any evening actions? We can work on the assumption that the Duke Rune conversation and your findings from your day of study monster books has been shared amongst you.
Mm-hmm. So what do the rest of you think about that?
So it sounds like we should be investigating.
Yeah.
Gus is actually going to take his leave from Lucius and spend the evening just checking on his stuff over here in Silver Bluffs.
Okay.
And also keeping an eye on, because you said they're basically next door, is what you said?
No, they're on the other side of Silver Bluff. So you're over here near to the wall. They're on the other side, under the shadow of the Temple District.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So yeah, that's where I am.
What's everybody else doing this evening?
Do we know?
Alex,
Do we know if the king has agreed to the gentleman's demands?
Not yet.
Oh, and we left a note, huh?
Well, you left a message there for him.
With the message. I don't want to go find out.
The ship is still there. Nothing new has happened with the ship, right?
The ship is still there. And during the day, while the sun was out, it was semi-transparent. Now that the sun is starting to set again, though, as we fade into twilight for the day, it's like the less and less sunlight there is in the sky, the more and more solid the ship appears in the harbor.
I think I might like to get a better look at the ship. I don't know about anybody else.
What do you mean by a better look?
I could fly over to it with a lantern of revealing and just kind of do as close an investigation over the thing carefully and slowly as I can without touching it.
Okay.
Also, inexplicably, I have forgotten all of the bullet points from our monster research. I was very focused on my peanut butter and jelly sandwich during the break. So I forgot about what we discovered.
You know what I did last week,
sorry.
McDohl?
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
I was craving a PB&J, okay? But I discovered that our bread was moldy. It had been sitting too long, right?
Uh-huh, yeah.
So I did an experiment with a flour tortilla.
I've tried that once and it doesn't work out great.
It's not great, no. Anyway.
No, it's not.
So which bullet points do you need reiterated? Yours or Alex's?
Alex's.
Alex, would you like to fill him in?
The dead gnome was killed by a mushroom spore that is harvested by like illithids and drow and other underdark nasties.
Alright, I do remember the mushroom, or the fungus.
Yeah.
didn't remember the Underdark Nest.
He's dead,
stats.
right? Like, at first I thought maybe he wasn't dead, but he's totally dead.
Very well, yeah, very
No,
dead.
he's-
Okay.
So, but yeah, we will go investigate this ship then.
So you're both going to be flying?
I guess suppose so if it's being cast on me.
I don't have a fly for other people. I have boots.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'll walk. That's cool.
And what's Lucius doing this evening?
They're flying in front of me while I walk behind.
Okay. Sorry. Dog commotions are happening. As far as what Lucius is gonna do, I think I'm going to. We got this lead, this guy, who has information, is reluctant to reveal it. About. You know, I'm gonna help Alexander scope out the ship.
Okay. So we have Alex and Lucius are going to be flying over the ship. And Connor is going to be, what, inspecting it from the dock? Are you going to try to raise a gangplank out there?
Not gonna do any gangplanking, no. But we will observe it from the dock.
Wait, doesn't Lucius's fly spell hit 3 people?
It does.
All right, cool. Guess I'm flying.
Are,
Can I get
I,
Scrappy a fly too?
Sure.
are any of you going to touch the ship?
No.
Gonna touch it. Go on, touch it. I got protection from evil and good.
Throw that on me and I'll touch it.
In fact, I got magic circle if we wanna.
Before
be
you
rowdy.
touch it, I would like to point out to you that Brookroad's favorite line in the Tomb of Horror is, "There is no appeal." Keep that in mind.
So yeah, Alex will fly up, light his lantern of revealing that shows invisible objects, and just do a very slow and careful visual inspection of this ship.
Okay.
So, a question, because maybe this is something we could check later, because I don't think we really paid attention to this. You said that the ship goes slightly transparent. I know I'm not there, but that this is like the player wondering. It goes slightly transparent. Can you actually see the interior layout of the ship when
No.
it's transparent?
You see through it. You can see what's on the other side of it as far as looking out over the harbor or looking out over buildings or whatever. But no, you can't see anything inside of the ship.
Okay, it's just a logistical question. Thank you.
And if you were flying over it looking down, you would just see kind of the displaced water underneath it.
Physically there, but it's...
All right. I will go ahead and...
Yes, protect evil and good on me. I'll touch the damn thing.
You will, huh?
Hold on.
Okay.
Well, so for as neat of a spell as it is, I don't know how much protecting from evil it'll actually give you. since
So the spell is a lie, is what you're telling me.
I mean, it'll give you. Well, if the ship is a creature, it'll have disadvantage on an attack roll against you, and it can't charm you or make you frightened or be possessed. So, you know.
Listen, don't blame me for how dumb that spell is. You all know that I think that this edition slowly retreating away from the concept of alignment is one of the things that sticks in my craw about it. So I want protection from good and evil to protect me from good and evil. How about that? So this is the deck of the ship.
Yeah.
As you're flying over and around it. So really you're just getting a better look at the details that I've described before. So you've got 4 ballista aboard the ship. I forget which part is the prow. I guess it doesn't matter that much. This is the mainmast. This is where you have that machinery that the mainmast is set into. The sail attached to it still remains slack. Several other masts, 3 in total. Alex, your Lantern of Revealing doesn't reveal anything invisible. There's nothing here that's not part of the visible spectrum. But go ahead. Somebody give me an investigation check. You can make this check add advantage since several of you are going over it at once.
Plus 2.
Mine's +8, 9. God damn it.
What's the D12 for?
Somehow I grabbed a D12 instead of a second D20.
Gonna shoot the boat.
Alright, so that is it's a 35.
Big numbers. Alex, the machinery that the mainmast, at the base of the mainmast, is extremely it's extremely complicated. It's housed in this circular shaped housing, and like I said, the metal comprising it is heavily rusted through. You can't be certain what it does without examining it closer, which would involve getting some tools out, opening up panels or whatnot. But the type of metal that it's made out of would be sourced. It's not a type that would come from like a dwarven mine near the surface. It's sourced in the Underdark. And it has magical binding properties. This is the sort of metal you would use, which is heavily susceptible to rust, if you wanted to trap a demon forever, kind of thing. And the same metal is used at the base of the other 2 masts. The other thing that you're getting a closer look at that you didn't notice before is the wheel of the ship doesn't turn. There's no handles on it. There doesn't seem to be any way to turn it. And again, it's made out of the same kind of metal that's thoroughly rusted in place. Are Connor and Lucius doing anything specific as they're crisscrossing the ship, getting a good look at everything? Or just assisting Alex in his letting him take the lead?
We have much in the way of magical. Are there any way to get? Are there any doors or any other passageways to get below deck?
There are these stairs here, which seem to go below deck, which is frightfully dark underneath. Lucius can see through magical darkness, though.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really not much to see. There's also this metal cargo grate in the center of the ship that you can look down. Either way, it's just looking down into darkness, into an empty space.
So, remember when I said we should trap a pair of water elementals and use them to push the barge?
Yeah.
Best of my knowledge, and Lucius, maybe you can cross-reference on this. This is the sort of thing you'd use to do that, only probably with a demon or something.
The difficulty would be sourcing water elementals this time of year.
Yeah, you gotta get them imported from plain old water. They're out of season.
Luckily,
You can get the saltwater ones, but those aren't any good if you have to go up a river.
I do know the spell Magic Circle. Does the stuff up here seem within that scope of things?
Magic Circle focuses on creatures.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with the spell. Give me 1 second to pull it up.
So,
Are there like arcane runes or inscriptions as part of this, or does it look purely mechanical?
On the metal casing at the base of the mast, you mean?
Yeah.
There's no runes or inscriptions evident on the outside of it, no.
Okay.
so
So when I peered down below decks, I didn't see anything, anyone for that matter.
There's another deck down there, but it's just like looking into a dark, empty space. You don't see any movement. You don't see anybody about. Is there a difference between, since you seem to be such an expert, is there a difference between a freshwater and saltwater elemental? I would have assumed any sort of liquid would work.
You have to season to taste.
Is that what you're telling him?
Wait, sorry, did someone say that in character?
Oh, yes. There's a person standing in your midst. A young man wearing white and blue robes that you don't notice where he came from.
On the deck?
On the deck.
Oh, yes, Alex completely answers. Yes, you have to season to taste.
thought that was you, Brick. I'm sorry. Oh, that was so good.
Yeah, it looks as though Magic Circle would be specifically for creatures.
Okay.
So yeah, as you guys are going through investigations, you've been kind of bantering back and forth. It's just very suddenly you realize that a man is aboard the ship with you, just standing amidst you, just casually engaging each of you in conversation. And the jarring thing is, you have no memory of when he appeared, but you have a sensation of that he's been here for some time, and you've just been conversing with him just in a very natural way. And one by one, the four of you become aware of his presence. And it is unsettling because he's definitely been here. You guys have been flying over this ship for tens of minutes, probably at least, going back and forth with this lantern.
Yeah, Lucius only has 2 shots to fly, so it's gonna have to. Lucius is gonna have to. After about 20 minutes, that's when Lucius can't maintain magic anymore.
So this is coming up to the end of your spell as you realize that Alex and this young man in white and blue robes has been having this conversation about different kinds of water elementals.
Lucius will look to the man in robes and say, "Huh, you're gonna have to teach me how you do that."
What do you mean, sir?
Just kind of wander in on conversations and somehow make yourself always have been there.
He says, I beg your forgiveness, but you approached the king's vessel. Surely here you are the interlopers. I assure you, you are most welcome.
I think we've been conversing this whole time and haven't grabbed your name.
The man looks at you and make a... I'm going to call this a charisma saving throw.
Are you sure that's what you want to call it?
I'm going to call it a charisma saving throw.
You don't want to call it like a dexterity saving throw or anything?
Definitely not a dexterity saving throw. And no, he's not a plant.
Sounds like he was planted there by the DM.
You're fired.
Just do whatever evil thing you're gonna do to me. 7. Do we say it was a 7?
As you're conversing with him, you ask him his name, and his response is, "What leads you to believe I have a name?" And this is the first time that you've directly spoken to him. You're focused on him. Previously, you've been focused on the investigation and fielding questions from Alex and Lucius nearby. But now that you're focusing explicitly on the young man, there's very something unsettling about him, about his facial features. And you find that you can't make eye contact with him. You keep wanting to glance away from him. And in so doing, you never build a good mental image of what he looks like, or even if he's human. But yeah, his response is, "What makes you think I have a name?"
I mean, conversations get really awkward without it.
Indeed. But you say that we're welcome, yes? I saw 2 men with my own eyes die upon setting foot on your ship, so please, I beg your forgiveness, but I'm loath to trust the ship after having watched 2 people die after setting foot on top.
Lucius, give me that charisma save.
Let's see if I can get this. Where did my die go? Oh, change maps. That's where my dice are.
Oh, my dice gel.
Dice chip gone forever. That's a 16.
A 16. You fare better than Connor did. You managed to keep eye contact with him. And looks like a very just neutrally, like vaguely attractive young man, perhaps in his 20s or 30s, with just incredibly neutral features. But the more you speak to him as you're focusing on him, you get a sense that you can see his bones inside of his head and face moving. It's less that you're conversing with a man and more that you're conversing with his skull. You make eye contact and you're more aware of just the sunken pits, the holes in his skull, than you are of his actual eyes. And this is also unsettling. So whether you pass or fail the save, you're unsettled either way. And you tell him about the 2 men that died coming up board the ship, and that you're loath to believe that the king is, of the king's hospitality. Oh, I assure you, good King Catsman welcomed both of those men aboard. Lucius, you also get the distinct impression that he's trying to stall for time because he knows your fly spell is about to run out.
Lucius gestures for Connor to back away to the dock and settles down on the ground.
You got it.
Scrappy too.
And Scrappy.
But Alex, you don't have a limitation on your fly magic, do you?
4 hours, and it recovers 2 hours a day.
Okay. And Alex, you see the young man look kind of disappointed when he sees the other 3 moving away from the docks. He steps over towards the edge of the ship and calls out after them. And he says, "The good king was very pleased to make your acquaintances." Then he turns back to address Alex. He sees that Alex has been very interested in the Mast. He says that he's happy to answer any questions pertaining to the unique engineering of the ship's device.
Oh, excellent. Is this an original ship from Dunfoss, or was it entirely sourced in the Underdark?
He tells you that the origins of the ship are clouded in myth and mystery. And while it is a compelling story, it would be impossible to know which parts of it are true and which parts of it are embellished. And then he redirects your conversation back to the workings of the specific device at hand.
Yeah, and Alex will ask if it's entrapping a supernatural force to provide any form of power.
Yes, he explains that the mechanism is designed to release a particular kind of wind spirit in moderation so that the ship can sail in any direction, even if weather disallows.
Is the spirit sapient?
Make me a wisdom saving throw, please.
Sure. This is against magic. Sorry.
Yes.
Gnomes are dumb.
You
Gnomes
can
are real dumb.
you can assume that anything happens on this ship is magical. That's probably a safe
That's a
assumption.
whiz save of 19.
You have some back and forth about the mechanism. He doesn't know any real details about the creature, the spirit itself, and he continuously steers your questioning back towards the device. And you realize that probably 2 or 3 minutes have gone by, and you've started to ask way more detailed questions just about minutiae that make up this mechanism than you were probably intending. And you realize that he's all trying to trap you there, trying to focus all of your attention on something that is not really the most important thing at hand. And he's definitely doing this magically.
Well, thank you. That's a lot of good information. And Alex will fly back down to his companions. Pretty sure he just tried to trap me in an obsession compulsion of some sort, which was really effective, let me tell you. That's a really good way to get me just to sit in one place and stare at a piece of machinery for 12 hours.
Yeah, don't do that.
Like, you probably wouldn't even need magic if he was any better at it.
Let's go ahead and I'll let all the three of you make an Arcana check at this point after these interactions are over.
That's a 7.
A 7?
I can't roll today, man. Damn.
It's a 25 for Alex.
Alex. This man didn't have a name, and he didn't have facial features. He had no real identity. You didn't see him arrive, and he was only interested in talking to you about things that you are already talking about. You get the strong and distinct impression that this wasn't a man at all, but that you were conversing with the ship itself in some capacity.
Okay. Well, Connor, I would advise against trying to read its mind.
Why is that?
Because I'm pretty sure that was the ship. Pretty sure the ship at least is sapient. I don't know how many other... If it's a hive mind and the people that are dead are also part of it, or that spirit is part of it, I don't know.
Connor gives you a raised eyebrow.
I don't know, maybe it's psionic or something. Psionics are kind of bullshit. They're outside of my field of expertise. Took a night class, but I only got a B.
Would Connor know about Illithids?
I'll leave that up to you. I mean, you've been living and working with Alex for some time, and he's a deep gnome.
Because here... Alright, if Connor... I mean...
I'll put it this way. Unless Connor has gone to the Underdark at some point,
Oh, no.
chances of him
Okay.
coming into contact with Illithids are probably extremely slim. So
Right.
if you have met an Illithid at some point, or been exposed to one, the circumstances would have had to have been extreme. More likely, when it comes to psionics, more likely the more common aberration that you might have come into contact with deep in the woods in areas that have access to the Underdark would be a Flumph.
Flumph are so cute and cuddly, and they make farty noises.
And they're psionic, and they hate Illithids.
Should we go talk to Captain Vimmus? This seems like he might have some heads up on some of this.
Probably for the best.
Sentient ship. Man. Yeah. I'm down with speaking with Vindus.
I both. What do you think?
Plus,
that
he keeps
we-
odd hours, if I remember correctly.
Do you think that our former king has put his thoughts into the ship somehow? That's why the ship itself is demanding.
I remember when I
that phone?
speculated it could be an illusion. The bullshit part about psionics is instead it would be like Instead of just putting something for your eyes to see, it would send a thought for your mind to think that your eyes saw something. Just short circuits the whole affair. It's ridiculous.
So, it's entirely possible, rather than seeing Caspian, the ship has sent us a thought that we have seen Caspian and what we
Right.
think Caspian is. So,
Saw the man claiming to be him, did we?
Yes, you did. You saw him when the ship first entered the harbor.
Right.
hmm,
Yeah, let's talk to Captain Venice and see if he might have any insight as to what's been going on.
Gus. Gus, you have cantrips, right?
Yes.
Why don't you select one cantrip from your spell list that you're focusing on teaching your low-level spell blades?
Okay. I think that would have to be one of the blade spells. We will go with we're going to be it's like kind of afternoon, right?
It's in
So I'd
the
probably-
evening now.
Yeah, okay. Green Flame Blade. I think it would be rude to the neighbors to be teaching a bunch of prepubescent teenagers booming blade as it's starting to get dark. So we'll teach them Green Flame Blade.
Are we taking any night actions tonight, or are we taking long rests instead?
I mean, I'd be okay. Do you guys want to go see if Inmus is around tonight? Like I said, I remember him keeping odd hours.
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
really-
no,
I'm not
I
tapped
am.
on resources at all.
I'm
going
absolutely
with
down with, yeah.
So
You
Gus
want to grab
would-
Gus on the way? He's kind of over in that part of the neighborhood.
Yeah, go ahead and snatch him up.
Snatch him up.
Just fly down, grab him.
He's got just a bunch. He's got a bunch of.
He can carry about 30 pounds of weight with his boots.
He's got a bunch of 6-year-olds standing around throwing green flames at each other. It's ridiculous.
Gus, you do keep a sand bucket handy in your training ground, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. I mean, Green Flame Blade can't actually ignite anything.
Right.
You'd be surprised.
That's why I didn't teach them Firebolt. I thought about Firebolt, but I was like, no,
You'd
because
be
then my
surprised
building
what
would be-
happens when a child tries to cast magic they can't really control yet.
Right.
Bear with me just 1 second.
So, sounds like you guys had an adventure.
It was more of an investigation.
Always more than of an investigation, yes.
We think the ship is alive.
So Vimnus has 6 ships, and usually some number of them are moored, typically in South Harbor. However, when you go to call on him tonight, all 6 are gone, and asking around about him, you learn that he has sailed with his entire fleet, leaving word that he is investigating probable passage of Catsbin's vessel. You learn that Vimnus is extremely suspicious of the ghost ship's arrival, and some people believe that he's dealt with this sort of threat on the ocean before. He hasn't left any word onto when he'll be returning to Dunfoss, but you do find people loyal to his house that are willing to pass along a message and notify you once he does return.
Okay, so Gus has 2 thoughts. One, we did hear that Warlock's Bane was still alive, and she was leading that strike into the the thing, maybe we should send her a message.
You can only do that once.
I mean,
I'm not disagreeing that now might be the time. Just a reminder, we only have one of those.
right.
Yeah, this
so,
is a pretty big thing that.
I think, I mean, Undead in the North, Ghost Ship, I think the two are related. Possibly.
Potentially.
Also, if there is a illithid organ beast, I don't know what those things are called. If don't you think you should get the word of some other deep gnomes that have actually fought? I don't know, or at least, your father was Alex has never actually been to the Underdark, has he? He was born.
No, he grew up. Alex was educated and grew up all over the overworld and the underworld. He's pretty much he was in 6 different colleges. He grew up here and in Deep Merksip. He's been all over the place.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is, what I'm getting at is, maybe you should go talk to your dad and tell him that there is an illithid thing going around. He might be able to, use some resources to look for the thing.
When you say maybe I should go and talk to my dad, you're saying that because there's no way you ever want to come along again, right?
I mean, I'll go with you if you want. I don't care. I ain't scared of him.
Do we actually know it's an illithid? I mean, it's definitely some Underdark psionic bullshit.
I got the sense that it was like an illithid spore.
Underdark psionic bullshit, you say? That seems to scream illithids to me, yes?
Yeah, I guess we can go talk to my dad. Maybe my sister's around. She might be more helpful.
I mean, we could talk to your sister. It's fine.
What's wrong with your dad?
Oh, do you want to tell him, Gus? I'm just gonna... Alex just laughs.
The first time I met his
Father
dad,
don't
he
get
tried to
on very
bribe...
well.
The first time I met his dad, he tried to bribe me into quitting and not associating with Alex anymore. So I crushed his desk with my hammer.
Did we ever pay for that?
I don't know. Did you? The last thing I heard was you took the bill and you framed it and put it on your office wall.
Alex pulls a ledger out of his bag of holding and pages through it. And I, out of character, am looking at if we ever are at our tax documents to see if we ever actually paid it.
I don't think we did.
I don't think we did.
And we think that this person, Alex's father, is going to help us.
I mean, he is the ambassador to Deep Merksith. If there's anybody here
Well-
that has some first-hand experience, he might be able to point him to us. My sister's way more agreeable. Let's try and get in touch with her.
I just want to remind everyone that everybody gets really anxious when I'm the one talking to people.
Oh, don't worry, don't worry. My dad and I can't be in the same room for more than about 5 seconds before we're screaming at each other. Like, it's not like you have to work. Like, it's not like I can do something wrong in this situation. That's an inevitable outcome.
Imagine a big barrel of rainwater. Like the rainwater is the relationship between Alex and his father. You are just one single drop of rain in that bucket. You will not even register.
He might try to bribe you into quitting.
So tonight, are we doing ascending to Warlock's Bane?
I feel like we should have more information before we do that, personally. Like, at least know the type of creature we're dealing with.
Okay, so nobody's taking a long rest tonight because you spent the night trying to get in touch with Vimnus. Remember, if you skip more than one long rest in a row, I might start to impose exhaustion on you.
Right.
Yep.
So there's 2 changes as of the next morning, the morning of the 23rd, that become apparent pretty quickly. The first is that your good old buddy, Percival Penniless, is back out on the stomp box in Great Tables Park. Again, drawing crowds, talking to people very passionately about his strong political beliefs and the direction he believes Dunfoss ought to go. But today, he is talking about very openly and very brazenly speaking about the virtues of King Catsbin the Gentle, and how he is alarmed and saddened that more people, more citizens in Dunfoss have not come forward to embrace the king's return. So he's admonishing people over this, and it's a major spectacle.
So, question.
Lucius-
Ha-
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask, has Caspin even, given any kind of instructions about how to step forward? Like, he just kind of
He has not appeared since his original proclamation when he first arrived. However, the other thing you start hearing is that the ship itself in the harbor, even though today is a sunnier day than it was yesterday, and the ship is more transparent as a result, you hear that things are crawling down the anchor. People have seen this happen late last night and early this morning. So let's get some morning actions now that you have those two pieces of information. Who's doing
You
what?
got water breathing.
I've
Lucius,
got it. Yeah, I've got it. Take a ritual.
what do you think?
I think that we've encountered this creature on the ship. Was trying to distract me. Was trying to distract you. What I think we have here is a situation where we're trying to get distracted again. Where it's trying to distract us again.
Or it's sneaking assassins into the city to murder people.
Why would King Catsbin the Gentle murder his own subjects?
Why do kings do anything?
I mean, look, there were 2 men that dropped dead on the dock 2 days ago, and according to that ship psychic presence we talked to, they're now serving with King Catsbin, so there's a possibility.
Ooh. Yeah. So, definitely on, make a note, Alex, when we write to Warlock Spain, we're going to ask her how we can step on the ship without being, shanghaied into being a ghost crew.
Right.
Okay, so what are our morning actions?
Are we talking to your sister, or are we going to your father?
Do we want to deal with Penniless? I mean, do you want to figure out if he's, like, been compulsed or something?
I think he's been hoodwinked, because that man would have suffered no other person but himself to sit the throne.
Yeah.
Do you think he
Something
knows
like-
anything, or do you think it's just part of a scheme to get power?
I think that this ship got into his brain pan.
How are we
So-
gonna figure that out?
I mean, if
Does anybody have
maybe...
dispel magic?
Yeah, I could just try dispelling. I'm wondering maybe if we, like, is it possible to maybe talk to him and see if there's anything extra in there that shouldn't be? Like, guide the conversation?
Oh, you could read his brain.
Some sort of thought detection, if you will.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't thinking about directly, just like, we could pose information to him and see, like, if he knows anything that he literally shouldn't. Penniless is pretty old, though, so I don't know. It's not like we're gonna trip him up with something that happened 12 years ago.
Oh, I have something way more dangerous and crazy I want to do.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Dangerous and crazy usually pans out for us, yeah?
Yeah. I want to detect thoughts on that ship, boy.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good idea.
I think it's a terrible idea and I want to do it.
I think what we do is play it safe, because whatever is on that ship has obviously gotten into his brain pan. Maybe you can get, like, not, like, it's kind of hard to describe. Maybe it's like a contact high instead of, like, instead of, like, just, just snorting a whole line of cocaine. You're just kind of, like, This is a bad metaphor.
I get what you're saying.
You speaking from experience here, Lucius?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my only concern is, can anyone else cast protection from stuff? Because I can't.
If it is good and evil, and it fits into the appropriate categories,
But if you
Oh
were,
my
you'd have
God.
to concentrate on your mind reading.
I do.
So what we do, right, is we just enact the dream protocol where he does it, right, and then as soon as he wakes up, I immediately punch him.
So,
I thought you were supposed to punch him if he starts acting weird.
are we starting to coalesce on what our morning actions are?
Are we going to go speak? Let's speak with your.
It sounds like we're about to punch Percival Penniless.
Okay. Who's going to go deal with Penniless this morning?
I think we should lure Penniless. Like, see if Penniless will. What time does he finish his speech and roundabout? He's usually like all morning, right?
He goes all day. I mean, even when he takes breaks for meals or whatever, like he's still like he feeds off having a large crowd listening to his ideas as often as possible. This is the closest thing he has to a profession.
I think if for Penniless is concerned, we should approach him when he's done for the day and where there's not a crowd.
There's never not a crowd around that man. Have you ever
Never
met
had
him?
a round around us.
Yeah, even if you approach him at night, he has a couple of guys in his inner circle who are always around him.
Right, couple of guys better than potential riot.
Now is probably the best time, to be perfectly honest. Because things like Percival Penniless wasn't like this yesterday.
Yeah,
Things are
and I want to put off
progressing.
talking to my father too, so let's do it.
Okay, so are all four going to go see Penniless this morning?
Yeah.
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 And Scrappy.
And Scrappy. Okay. And the thing about Percival Penniless is he actually is a fairly charismatic guy. He's good at getting people to see his point of view, even if only in the short term. And he does this by saying things that a lot of just the common people of Dunfoss like to hear. Basic anti-nobility rhetoric kind of stuff. And this is the avenue he's kind of using to praise King Catsbin. Here's the problem he sees. King Tensails sailed into town and promised he was going to give a box of gold to everybody in Dunfoss. Well, he hasn't done that. Instead, now people are hearing that the king's enemies in the town are disappearing in the dungeons, and the courts still seem to be pretty empty, so what's up with that? Meanwhile, King Catsbin didn't really get a chance to sit the throne. He might have been a terrific king. He was a pious man. He was dedicated to a type of magic that helped protect the city. He does seem to be glazing over the fact that he showed up on a magical ghost murder ship.
Yeah.
During a sunless day.
Yeah.
Right.
The skulls and bones motif. Yeah, that's not screaming. Catsbin the Gentle.
Is that what are you shouting this out at him on he's
Yeah.
on the stage?
Yeah.
He calls out, he identifies you by name in the crowd and draws some attention to you.
Mm-hmm.
And asks if you would come up and we could do a formal debate on the topic.
That actually, Gus whispers, that actually might be a good way to get his mind on the situation for
Yeah.
Connor to do it.
Yeah. No, Lucius is gonna step up.
Okay.
Go get him. And Alex puts a cigarette in your mouth and lights it.
Lucius, what's your goal in the debate? Let's step back, actually. You're going to be taking the position that King Tensails is doing a good job and should remain on the throne. And he's going to be taking the position that we should get rid of Tensails and put King Catsbin back as the rightful king.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's your goal in the debate?
My goal is going to be trying to keep him as focused on Catspin's return as possible.
You don't care
The
whether
circumstances of his return.
you don't care whether you win or lose the debate. You care that Connor is able to... Okay. And Connor, you're going to be using Detect Thoughts during this time?
That is correct.
All right. Lucius, go ahead and give me a... Do the persuasion checks. You're trying to keep him on a particular topic.
Hey, Lucius, add a D4 plus 5 to that.
Don't think I'm gonna need that, but thank you anyway. No, but I think it all the same. Because that's a 9, plus 9 is 18, plus 5 is 23, plus another 3 is 26.
Okay. And Connor, you are going to lock on to somebody in the area and read their surface thoughts. Would you please identify the character whose surface thoughts you would like to read?
Alex is wearing a lead hat.
What is your last name? Jones? I'm sorry.
It is penniless. Right? Like
Percival Penniless?
okay, yeah,
Okay.
that's a weird. And the really funny thing is, I almost went 10 sales. Like,
Who isn't here? Not in range. So,
Yeah.
at the moment, Lucius and Penniless are up on the stomp box. And, I mean, there's more to this debate than just point counterpoint. Like, there's some oratory and some performance aspects involved. Like, you're playing to the crowd at the same time. And they're both doing it. But Connor, his surface thoughts are static. They're not dialed in. Would you like to press deeper down into his head than that?
sure do. Oh yeah.
So he gets
See, that static gets louder.
he gets a wisdom save, yes?
Be good if I had this information pulled up and ready to go, but I believe that is correct. Yes.
And this spell lasts for 1 minute. Yes?
Yep.
So we have 9 rounds left. You push down a little further. What direction are you going, by the way? Like, what are you trying to latch onto?
Well, right now I'm getting static.
But
I am
you can also hear what he's talking about on the stage, though.
right.
And Lucius gets to decide what he's talking about because Lucius is currently controlling the debate.
Well, I just want to see if there's still a person there. So, any sort of like, yes, my name is Percival Penniless. So, in terms of going down, like, what's the best way to like put this? I guess a good way to put it is that as he's saying something, can I latch onto it in his brain somewhere?
Yeah, that's
Or in his thought.
well, you're not going to go anywhere but his thoughts because the spell's called Detect Thoughts, not Detect Brain. But it's like what's a topic? What's a topic in his head that you want to learn more about?
Who he supports on the throne.
Okay. And as you push down, what you get back is very, very distinctly not penniless at all, but something malevolent and hungry that thinks you are delicious. And I need you to make me a wisdom saving throw, please.
Oh.
Can I give him a plus 5 to that?
How?
Flash of Genius as a reaction.
Yeah, sure.
19.
Okay. Let's go ahead and take 5 points of psychic damage.
Okay.
And we have 8 more rounds of this to go.
Whoops.
So on the next round, would you like to go deeper still?
You okay there, Connor? Your nose is you're bleeding.
Connor, you're up.
So when I felt I actually felt the malevolent force, right?
Oh, yes.
Like that is
A malevolent, hungry force that is reaching across the connection from Penniless's mind into yours and is feeding on something in there that's causing you physical pain.
So, no, and Connor wastes no time after that happens marching up to the stomp box.
So to be clear, this is going to be your action for right now.
Yes, this is going to be my action. I'm
Okay.
going to move to the stomp box and roundhouse punch Penniless.
Okay, go ahead and make me a wisdom saving throw, please.
Oh dear. That's a 7.
Okay, it's 9 points of psychic damage.
Okay.
So you get up on stage and you're just going to flatten Penniless out. You're just going to lay him out onto the ground.
Yeah.
And let's go ahead and we'll organize this on initiative then. Since the violence has started.
Except for everyone should have been.
Yes, everybody who's there.
Hey, Lucius, how you doing? Kind of cozy
Hi.
down here.
Yeah, I'm on a 3 as well, so
So purple is Percival Penniless, or the thing that's driving him. Yellow is the crowd and what they're doing. So right now we're on... Connor is very conveniently at the top. So that was Connor's
Sure
turn.
is.
And you flatten him. You lay him out. And he hits the ground. And he spends no time getting back to his feet. Connor, you suddenly become mobbed by Penniless, like his inner circle, the people who are he keeps closest to him. And he's decrying the deplorable act of physical violence, and he points up at Lucius. And these men are known, Flumph Inc., to be cat's paws of King Ten Sails, and they would deny the rightful king his throne, and this sort of thing. But he doesn't actually do anything violent towards you. He just gets to his feet and tries to move away from you. You haven't used a reaction yet. You can take an attack of opportunity if you like.
No.
No?
Connor just says something like he shouts, "Something's got his brain."
You shout, "Something's got my brain."
Something got his brain.
Okay. Alex, that brings us to your turn.
Alex will fire up his boots, fly over where Connor is, maybe flying directly above the two of them, and he'll reach into his pack and pull out a platinum ring and slide it into Connor's finger, and then tap a matching ring on his own hand together.
Okay.
That is a warding bond.
So what does this do?
+1 AC, +1 to saving throws, and you have resistance to all damage. Whenever you take damage, I take the same amount.
The crowd, as Alex flies up to the stage, means they're starting to notice what's happening, and they don't approve of this at all. And Lucius and Gus, you find the crowd is starting to mob around you. And I mean, jeers... I'm sorry, just Gus, because Lucius is up on the stage. But yeah, jeers are being thrown. People are booing Connor and Lucius, and even people who were not necessarily agreeing with Penniless a moment ago didn't want to see the guy cold clocked on stage. It's entirely possible that if things keep going the way they are, this crowd is going to turn violently against you, and then it's Gus's turn.
Do I have any movement left to fly upward?
If you want.
Okay, I'll fly up however much movement I have left, and then I'll have Scrappy go and take a protective stance next to Lucius.
Okay. That's going to bring us to Gus.
Gus is just going to... I'm assuming the crowd is difficult terrain.
Yeah, because you're going to be trying to push your way through them up to the stage. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm not going to get on the stage, though.
Okay.
How far up can I get?
You can get right to the edge of it.
I just want to get to the edge of the stage, and I'm going to look up, so what the heck?
Who are you directing this at? Connor, Penniless, or someone else?
You know what? Everyone.
Well, so you're just casting your eyes to the sky and throwing your arms up, and what the heck, to no one in particular?
Specifically Connor.
So you're
Yes.
directing towards Connor. Okay.
Connor, what the heck?
Do you have
Something's
a
in his head.
Do you have a specific goal in mind with this action?
I'm just. Gus doesn't know what's going on. Connor ran up and hit him. No, I don't really have. Gus just doesn't know what's going on. But he'll say something's in his head, and then oh.
Okay, that's going to bring us to Lucius. You're still up on the stage.
Yeah. I am going to try and calm the crowd. I'm going to stop the debate and to try to calm everyone down.
How so? Like, what's your method here?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is always a very contentious topic, especially around the issues of succession. I think what we all need to do is just calm down, take a few moments, and just let the blood cool for a moment.
Are you going to address the fact that somebody just climbed up on stage and cold clocked Penniless?
Yeah, I'm going to rebuke Connor in that regard.
Okay, go ahead and make a... if you sincerely believe Connor should not have done that, we're going to call this persuasion. If you believe Connor was right to do that, or you just don't care, we can call it performance instead. It's up to you.
No persuasion. Hey, Mephistopheles, why don't you lean on reality for a moment? That's only an 11. Let's try and throw something else on top of that. Make that a 17.
Okay. So you step out, you try to, you give Connor a rebuke, like he definitely should not have done that, trying to calm people down, trying to get the crowd under control. What you managed right now in the immediate future is the crowd is starting to refocus their attention on you rather than Connor beating the guy up. If Connor continues to beat the guy up, this is going to be more and more difficult as we go on.
Yeah.
And now it's Connor's turn. So Connor,
Yeah.
the first thing that happens is, because you still have Detect Thoughts up,
Yeah, I do.
the next thought is a question. And it asks, what are you most afraid of?
Oh, that's the easiest answer in the world. Fey creatures.
So when Connor thinks fey creatures, like, what is the actual image that appears in his mind? What does he see?
King Titania.
You're not wrong.
It's just like the whatever
Oh.
the snowball.
Like lots of Fae giggling and tittering and pointing and laughing.
Right, but who's giggling and pointing and laughing? Who's doing it?
Little Fae fairy creature. Tinkerbell little things.
Just afraid of like the nebulous concept of Fae.
Okay. I need you to make me 2 wisdom saving throws.
Man, that's what I get for actually telling you.
And you get a
it's
+1.
I get a +1 for the
That'll
wisdom
save
saving
him.
throws.
I'm out of +5s.
I mean, my rolling has been so great today. That is once again a 14.
A 14?
Yeah,
Okay.
and not a 14.
What?
It's an 8.
Okay. 3 things happen in conjunction.
Okay.
First thing that happens is you take 7 points of psychic damage, which means you take 3 and Alex takes 3.
Yep.
And Alex, you now feel the malevolent source in your brain,
Oh no.
and you hear someone as though speaking to you, and who is this now? Connor, the next thing that happens is, as you're looking out over the crowd, you start seeing individual people in the crowd, no longer as people, but now taking the form of giggling Tinkerbell fairies, but they're human-sized, and they're pointing at the stage at you.
Oh.
And they're giggling, and they're cackling, and they're laughing, and they're pointing at you with their little starlight fairy wands. And now it's your turn.
So, did that break concentration? I guess I got to roll, huh?
For the 3 damage you took?
Yeah. Well, I can always just drop a spell, can't I?
Is that what you do?
Yeah.
Make me a spellcasting ability check.
All right, I will do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking up the numbers.
Speak slowly.
Okay.
Give you more time to look at your character sheet.
All right, that is a 23.
23.
Done. Yeah.
So you try to drop the spell, and it doesn't work. This malevolent force, whatever it is, won't let you do it. It's like you want to turn off the TV to make the static stop, but the knob just doesn't work. So you take a second and you force the magic to end. You force the spell to go away. Something you usually don't have to do. This required your action for the turn.
Okay.
But when that happens, you feel the thing leave. And Alex, you also feel the thing leave from your mind as well.
Am I still being laughed at by fairy creatures?
No, now looking over the crowd, it's just most of them are paying attention to Lucius right now. But you still have movement left.
In that case, Connor will try to push his way out from Penniless's and the crowd. And
So you're stepping back off the stage?
yeah,
Okay.
something's in his brain.
Does anybody have any intention on bringing more violence in the near future?
Well, can I ask, can I make an active insight on my turn to see if that changed Penniless at all?
Oh, yeah, that'd be fine. We can come off initiative as long as you guys aren't going to continue beating on this poor innocent man who hasn't done anything wrong.
He inflicted damage on me. Not want to hear it. Don't want to hear it.
That's a insight of 12.
He's not acting any differently, but within the next few moments, his people have kind of ushered him off the side of the stage and are kind of moving him away from the area and away from Connor specifically.
Yeah, Alex is gonna reach into his alchemist kit, pull out a thin glass sphere filled with a blue liquid and toss it over towards him. When it shatters, everything around it gets splashed and the liquid changes to green as it absorbs any ambient magic. That's a level 3 Dispel Magic, targeting Penniless.
Okay. And for a moment, actually, I'm thinking I want to go ahead and make that. There's a check involved.
Yeah, usually if it's higher than 3rd level, I'd have to make a spell casting check.
Yeah, go ahead and give me that check, please.
I got more Dispel Magics. That's a 6.
A 6?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've gotten them all wet, and I mean, you're flying, so you can chase after them if you want.
Yeah.
But the rest of the crowd is paying more attention to Lucius at this point. Lucius, do you have a particular goal in mind for this crowd, or are we going to bring him in for a landing?
No, I think we're gonna bring it in for a landing. I think I need to reconvene with my friends.
You don't tell the crowd that, though. Like, I got to go down and talk with the guy who just come up here and...
Yeah. Yeah, I don't tell them that.
I tell Connor to use his words, but you guys have been telling Connor to not use his words, so I don't know what to do.
Words aren't good.
Are you going to try to discharge another Dispel Magic?
Yeah, let's hit him with that one more time.
Okay.
It's a little better. That's only a 12, so that wouldn't do it.
Was it 12?
Yeah, it's not gonna. Second level spells, obviously. Can I use my 3rd one?
Sure.
There we go. It's a 21.
Okay. So after the second one, they're trying to retreat him into cover. They're going to try to get him into some nearby building. And just before they go in, you manage to get the third one off. And when this happens, Penniless cries out as though in pain. And he lashes out with his arms, just kind of wildly, randomly. And he smacks one of his companions on the side of his face and sends him reeling. And then the next moment, he kind of crumples to the ground, holding his head. And he's breathing very heavily. But within a few seconds, whatever was happening to him seems to dissipate. His breathing starts to calm down. And he's still sweating, and he becomes more aware of his surroundings. His companions help him back up. Do you make yourself known, or are you going to slink away?
Connor, I got it out!
Lucius hops off the stage and goes to chase after Alexander and Penniless.
Okay. And after this, they get him inside the building. So what's next?
We figure out who put the thing in his brain and where he got it put in his brain.
Oh, that was terrible.
Yeah, someone got
Maybe
into me too. Told you
maybe-
silence is bullshit.
Maybe I shouldn't detect thoughts on the ship.
So
You think?
So what I'm gathering is that you didn't touch Penniless. You weren't touching Penniless there, huh?
How was that contact high? Bring back that analogy.
Is the plan to go in and try to speak with Penniless at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Connor, I don't think you should go there.
I don't think Penniless will begrudge him.
Yeah, I think Connor should come.
Okay.
Connor's the one
Connor's
who
the one that
noticed.
saved him.
Yeah.
Outvoted.
So the building that they've taken him into is just the humble abode of one of his sympathizers. And just kind of this nearby, just ramshackle residence in the Northgates district. And Penniless is in there, and his people, and as soon as you guys come in the door, he and his people are situated in front of, or around this wood-burning stove in the center of this room. And his people stand up. Their hands go to sword hilts and whatnot. And Penniless calls out and says, "Stand down. They're friends of a sort."
You okay, Percival?
I feel like I've been sleeping for too long.
What's the last thing you remember before falling asleep?
He tells you that he remembers giving the speech, and he remembers Connor coming up and knocking him out, and he remembers you chasing him through the streets, flying overhead. Like, he has no lapse in his memory whatsoever.
Like, but what's the first memory you have that felt like it was asleep rather than awake?
He doesn't know how to answer that. He feels like he's been asleep too long now, but he doesn't recollect falling asleep, if that makes sense.
Can you recollect when your thoughts on who should be king changed versus, REU to Caspin? And where you were?
He tells you that he remembers Caspin being a great king. Or, no, that can't be right. He should have been a great king. His return was miraculous, triumphant. Wasn't it?
The sun went
People
out,
died.
and
people died.
seer died when they tried to scry the ship.
And, the whole thing with the ship being made of bones. And 2 people dying when they touched it.
And that he doesn't know anything about anybody dying.
Yeah, well, that happened.
2 of two of House Humberth's men and a seer of the Temple of Osprey.
I'm gonna try talking to some of his entourage and see if any of them can kind of retrace his steps over the last 3 days.
Okay. Lucius, make an insight check.
An 8.
An 8? Okay. His companions, I mean, they're able to trace his movements from the city. They know what taverns he hangs out in. They know, like, the types of people that are kind of willing to pay his way and buy his drinks. They know the kind of establishments that he's not welcome in for exactly that same reason, because he never pays his debts. And none of them report anything particularly strange happening over the past few days. I mean, with Penniless, I mean.
Was he ever in the vicinity of the ship?
He was standing amongst the crowd watching as it came in, like everybody else did.
Whatever was in your head got into my head and started asking me things, and then started making me see things that weren't really there.
Penniless tells you that he hasn't seen anything that wasn't there, but his answer is a little confused, because after he says it, he looks away. But how would I have known?
I think what happened is Connor got onto the trail, and the whatever the creature was either trying to eliminate him or bring him under its sway.
It wanted to know what I was afraid of. And then it saw what I was afraid of, and then showed me what I was afraid of.
And one of Penniless's men asks what that was.
Nope.
To speak its name would invite it here, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Lucius has no idea what he's talking about.
Fair enough. I'll allow it. What else do you guys want to try to get out of Penniless?
I think we just tell him to think on, see if anything, just kind of go over the last few days in his brain and try to pick out what doesn't belong.
He can't recall anything that doesn't belong. He was not aware until just a moment ago when Alex's spell went off that anything was out of the ordinary at all.
It seems to be a reoccurring theme.
And this happened to you and Connor when the ship first arrived. You
Yeah.
called out all hail King Catsbin, and it didn't seem out of place at all, even after the fact.
And don't forget talking to the boy last night. That was all well and normal too, until we realized it wasn't.
You know what? I think we do. Well, two, I do think we need to go speak to your father, or somebody, your sister at the very least, Alex, because this is, like you said, psionic bullshit. One day you're gonna have to explain to me how psionic is different from magic.
Wrote that guy's name down. I'm pretty sure I did. I think what we need to do is, like, our friend, the man with the sword, the man who talks to the Flumph people up in the mountains. His name, I can't think of his name.
Numac?
Talking about the Numac, yeah. Maybe we should talk with him. Maybe he's got some insights on this.
As far as I know, he has orders to stay at the barge for now.
Yeah.
One other thing we could also look into is there is an entire guild dedicated to spotting and dealing with magical coercion. And
If this kind of
brother,
thing has affected personal Penniless and us in any kind of static way, we could probably assume that the whatever effect would seem completely normal.
There is also a guild in town that deals with psionic magic, which is the Apple of Time. In fact, any Githzerai you do see in and around the city are almost certainly members of the Apple of Time.
Don't we know a Githzerai too?
Yeah.
Now, you have one. You own one. You have a pet Githzerai.
I have a pocket Githzerai, huh?
You know, gets around our employee, and he
Okay.
he said he's insisted to Lucius on multiple occasions. If I was going into danger, we should bring him along.
So before I collect afternoon actions, at some point during the day, the next time you're traveling through or around one of the harbors, looking out at the ship, which is only partially visible during the sunlight, but you can see snaking out, because, I mean, it's moored there. One of its anchor has been thrown overboard, and it's tied off at the docks as well. But the anchor, which was made of chain originally, it now looks like it's wrapped in something dark and wet, braided around it, lashing down into the water below.
Okay.
All right. Well, here's things we need to do. I guess I'll go talk to my dad. Anyone want to come along? Any volunteers?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll go with you. It'll raise your dad's blood pressure probably.
So instead of thinking of individual afternoon actions, because we're about to call the session for the week here, let's formulate a list of leads that you want to attack next session. Like, what is a checklist of things you guys need to do in regards to this ghost ship investigation?
First, I think we ask Numac what he knows about magics of the mind. I think that's a good starting point right there.
I want to talk to Dysonari and see if anyone has been covertly growing that mushroom or spores anywhere in the city. She'd probably know.
Okay.
We should see the apple. I guess we should check in with the Apple of Time after we converse with Numac.
Numac, yep.
And then
Talk to Alex's dad to know if there's anybody in the city or any word from my home about illicit activity.
Okay.
And also to warn him about, like, and then we need to do something to follow up with this, the guy over here.
Oh yeah, we should figure out what the hell he's not letting on.
Yeah.
All right.
Also,
I'm going to go dark for a couple seconds while you guys start thinking about some blips. I posted the link to the straw poll in the chat. So we have a checklist of 5 leads you guys want to run down next week. Well, technically 4. So Numac and the Apple of
consider
Time.
going underwater and dealing with whatever's down there?
Yeah. Also put that we need to at least look.
We need to at least have that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's going to be an underwater investigation. We're going to try to follow up with the information that Rune Humberth has. We're going to speak to Alex's dad, who is the ambassador to a deep gnome kingdom with dealings with Dunfoss. Alex wants to speak to his contact, Dacineri, and Numac and the Apple of Time.
It sounds like a young adult fantasy novel.
It might be, for all I know.
Numac and the Apple of Time.
It really does.
All right, I'm going to go dark for 2 minutes while I do some bookkeeping on my end. You guys can discuss your blips. I'll be right back.
Who's most creative today?
Lucius, for just the various social engineering that you've had to do today.
Who furthered the party's goals the most today?
I think
Honestly, I think Connor.
Yeah, I was gonna say the
I'm
same
nominate
thing.
Connor, because he,
Punching.
he moved forward and he kind of got the ball rolling on us starting to unravel this with the whole punching the guy to
His
Playing
decisive
Penniless.
action.
Yeah, his decisive action. And who's a badass?
Uh, let me think. My gut reaction is to give it to Alexander, but I'm trying to think of why.
I mean, I flubbed a lot of Dispel Magic rolls.
Okay, listen. It's not super badass, but I love the image of you flying through the air chasing Percival Penniless, just
Pelting
lobbing
him with
just
stuff.
lobbing water balloons on him until the detect magic sticks.
I mean, that's pretty intangible right there, yeah.
Intangible, not badass.
Yeah. And then I guess
But for badass, then I guess. What are you doing over here in Silver Bluffs? You've made your own like
yeah,
guild, and you're
Yeah.
teaching kids how to cast Firebolt. Have I got that right?
not Firebolt. I very specifically didn't teach him to cast Firebolts because I don't
Oh, that's not
believe-
badass at all then. Teaching
I-
kids to cast Firebolt would be very badass. That's all I'm saying.
I'll listen.
Fire.
I'm sorry. That's not why we
I taught them Green Flame Blade.
That's good enough. Teaching kids to cast Green Flame Blade. But
Teaching small children to wield fire.
I think you gotta up it up. You gotta increase it next time. You gotta raise the stakes next time and teach them Firebolt.
I was gonna say for looking dashing in that hat the gentleman put.
Does that make them warlocks? Are you
you
their
know what?
patron?
What?
You know what? I'll give it to Gus for just everything putting up with the gentleman, actually.
Yeah, the gentleman,
That's-
the
yeah,
gentleman being a
that's-
real smug criminal man, being smug criminal man, Gustavus just not having any of it.
So, who wants to make their case first?
Let me see. I can go.
Gus.
Pretty much just my ideal, my companions are my support structure, and I must do what I can to protect them from themselves. For insisting that, well, for walking, like wading my way through that crowd, looking at Connor and going, "What the hell, dude?" And then when he there's something in his brain, Gus was like, "Ah, okay." Like just immediate trust,
Okay.
and then the video.
All right, who's next?
Honor will go.
Connor, what do you have?
Ideals. I must warn everyone of the very real dangers of Fae and Fiends and Fae and Undead and Fae and other monsters. We're researching with Alex to figure out what ate the gnome,
What
even though he was largely unsuccessful at it.
what fey creature did you decide to know everything about?
I picked one and I closed the damn window.
Well, what did you pick?
I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, Jesus.
But let me finish this first. Then when you're going through other people, I will tell you.
Sure.
All right. Flaws, subtlety, and diplomacy are not in my lexicon for just flat out punching penniless.
I don't think that applies, does it? That's a real border case there, brother.
Is it? Well, to be fair, anyway. And alignment, neutral good acts exist beyond the realms of order and chaos, and achieving them is the most important thing. For reminding Gus that we went to get permission from Tensales to talk to the gnome, even though we almost walked out of that meeting, trying to get a meeting to get with the gentleman.
I was wondering if you guys were going to forget that you went in there to ask for something specific.
It became real dangerous. I thought we were pushing your luck when it was just like, you have to go talk to gentlemen and find all the underground passageways so I can move ships around. And he was really pissy about it. I was just like, oh, and yeah, we need to talk to the gnome that predicted all this from happening.
Is there anything more dangerous than a pissy king?
I don't know.
Tensail's being a real whiny butt, if you ask me.
Yeah, I know, right?
And who's next?
I'll go.
Lucius, what do you have?
I have my alignment, lawful neutral, take your place in society, work well for your fellow people, take care of your own, for trying to quell the crowd that was going to go and give Connor a bloody nose.
Very good.
I have knowledge is paramount for chasing down the lead on for chasing down the lead that started from the Keyskin Embassy to the House Humberth.
Okay.
And I didn't really take any super risky moves today.
You could have touched the ghost ship, but you decided not to.
I could have touched the ghost ship, but I decided not to. Yeah, no, that's it. So.
Okay. And Alex, what do you have for me?
So I've got my flaw. I'm sure we can handle this for his plan to, well, let's just go over and look as close as we possibly can without touching the ship that kills anyone that touches it. And that's it. So for me today.
All right.
Can't do anything with those dead bodies, unfortunately.
Here we go. This is the monster here. I'll put it in your stream too.
Oh, Corey, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I've used these before, haven't I? Yeah, these are the... Oh, maybe I haven't.
I
don't
think
think
you
you
have. I think they.
In this campaign?
No,
I
in
think you've
Flump of the
named
Wild.
them, but I don't think you've named them, but I think you've used them in the past.
Hordes are unpredictable, secretive fae. Already, Connor hates them.
They have, like, the crazy rope hair.
Yeah.
Have I used these?
I'm pretty sure you have.
I don't remember that encounter if I have. I'm not doubting you, because I've designed hundreds of encounters by now, but... Yeah, these guys are cool. What was the most...
Man hair.
What was the most creative solution to a problem this session?
We gave that to Lucius for just all of his wordsmithery throughout the session. Like he talked us into a lot of places and talked us out of several bad situations. And he did a pretty good job at like out of character did a pretty good job at kind of framing, how this would work.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Who did the most to further the party's goals?
That was Connor, I think.
For punching an old man.
Is Percival an old man? Because I got the sense he was like
He's middle aged. He's in his 50s
Oh, I
or
got
so.
suspect he was like late 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was the badass?
That was
Gus for putting up with the gentleman's ridiculousness with humor.
So we're calling Gus a badass for putting on a pink frilly hat.
Yep.
Yeah.
and not.
He could pull it off.
I mean,
Yeah.
Adric's got that flip 19 times for doing shit like that, so...
Real men wear pink is a shirt I've seen people wear.
I wear pink. Pink is a great color.
Pink is a great color.
More partial to salmon.
Salmon?
Yeah,
Salmon.
it's a good
That's-
color.
But that's the pronunciation we're going with. Salmon.
It's on the video now. You can't unbottle that genie there, buddy.
He edits the videos. He can do whatever he wants.
Right, but if he doesn't know the correct way to pronounce the word, what is he going to edit it to?
He's gonna edit it just the most monotone potato.
That's my favorite color too. Potato. What are we doing for our intangibles blip? Who was intangible this week?
That was Alexander for lobbing water balloons at Percival Penniless until he stopped being crazy.
And Connor has our straw poll.
I still love that mental image. Alex is just flying through the air. They're running down the street. People are looking out their window and going, "What the hell?" And he's just
So
throwing water balloons.
we are level 11, yes?
Yeah.
So blips
Sorry.
are worth 500 each.
Yeah.
All right. So Alex, you have 6 and you've just earned 2.
Yep. Just taking them as EXP.
Connor, you have 6 and you earned 5.
Okay.
Lucius, you have 6 and you earned 3. And Gus, you have 6 and you earned 3. And when we pick it up next week, we will attack this laundry list of investigatory targets. And I'm sure going underwater to investigate the crazy anchor tendrils will be perfectly safe.
This is fine.
This is fine.
Yep.
All right, thanks for playing, guys. I'll see everybody next week.
Later,
Later.
friend.